Basically, since the very modern society started about 6,000 years before Christ in the Neolithic ages, when we have seen that since the beginning that people or humankind are trying to help the peoples who are suffering from pain. At that time, according to the understanding of the pain, how the pain can be solved, first of all we must know the why it happens. So previously it was thought that pain is coming from something from head, and then lots of changes have done in the world. Only in 1979, International Association for Study of Pain has given us the definition, only the definition. Since then only, we could think about how to deal with pain, what is the reason of the pain. And in the definition, we can understand that it is not only a sensation, that is a sensory information which are coming to the brain that must be unpleasant. That means, so the past memory, which is pleasant or which is unpleasant, that is also playing. So there is interaction of that information coming from the stimulus to the brain, and which then that past memory also playing some role here. At the same time, there is emotional experience. So that experience is also associated with some emotions. And that emotion may be fear, maybe other anxiety, maybe some autonomic response. So all other areas of the brain are also playing role. So we can now understand, in ISP has told that pain is not a very simple thing. So it will not be very easy to treat the pain with some medicines only. And that's why we are having great challenges. And that's why we are in search of the safe analgesic for the human being. But in the evolution, we started since the area 6,000 before Christ, when the pain was considered some evil forces in the brain. So attempts were made to make holes in the like this. So after the trephining of the skull was in practice till 18th century Europe, because at the time people, and that's why till today we could not conquer the pain, because there is then only Descartes, and for the understanding of the pain, he told us that pain is simply the information of external stimulus which is applied at the limbs. It goes through a pathway and to the brains in 1650. At that time was also Catholic Church was telling that pain is punishment. To go against, conquer the pain is going against God. So his specificity theory was banned. But till today, this is the pain pathway, the same as Cartesian, that diagram. So in this figure, we can understand that in the hand or the palm, there might be some stimulus. Stimulus means some energy. Energy means either thermal energy, or some chemical energy, or mechanical energy, a blow or needle or anything. That energy is transformed into electrochemical fluctuation in the receptors. So, to start the pain, we need that sensitization or the peripheral, those nerve receptors, when the energy, one form of energy is transformed into electrochemical fluctuation or electrical energy. It propagates. It is transmitted into the spinal cord, and then from the spinal cord through an ascending way it reaches through the thalamus to the brain. Similarly, there are some ways, descending ways to the spinal cord, which is helping in natural analgesia. So we have to consider this understanding, this neuroanatomy, which today's neuroanatomists are telling us to start this inflammation during the acute pain. That inflammation, we know, after any injury in the tissue, those arachidonic acids or those lipids are converted to prostaglandins. So that is the first step. That prostaglandin actually sensitizes the nerve endings. So the inflammation, so this inflammation and this prostaglandin synthesis was considered the main reason of pain control. And that's why attempts were taken to reduce this prostaglandin synthesis by the enzymes, by the cyclooxygenase enzyme, so that the prostaglandins cannot be synthesized, so there will be no pain. But what happened? There are also good prostaglandins or the housekeeping substances which were also more important for blood clotting, for kidney function, and also for stomach protection, production of mucus and others. So what happened, this prostaglandin synthesis inhibitor or these COX inhibitors were produced in large numbers, and as a result this non-selective COX inhibitors came into play, and this NSAIDs starting from aspirin, ibuprofen, indomethacin, diclofenac, aceclofenac, mefenac, so and so, they emerged in the market. And what they did, that they did some good, but at the same time, by blocking the COX-1 and other side effects, there was tremendous upside. And at that time, our understanding was that pain is only acute pain. Pain must be, there must be something, some injury or trauma or infection to justify pain. We did not think that SP's definition was that even pain can be there without any injury. So that is the neuropathic pain consideration was not there. And so everybody were trying to treat the pain only with this prostaglandin and these COX inhibitors. Then came this selective COX-2 inhibitors when there was much side effects of this COX, non-selective these COX inhibitors. Then what happened with that also, we have seen that there was cardiovascular effects. So then the other analgesics also came, paracetamol, and also now we are also now trying to consider or understand how paracetamol works. It probably works by COX-3 inhibition or also in a similar to that I am coming later. And the opioid, which were in use for analgesics since the start of the civilization, that is still in use. So what are the problems that happened, the challenges if the combinational risk, if COX-2 inhibitor is taken, a traditional NSAID should not be taken at the same time. There are also, it has been seen that who are on daily aspirin therapy, they should not be given other NSAIDs. Then that cardioprotective effect of the aspirin will be reduced. The cardiovascular, that is a great, in only this 2014 this FDA has informed us that NSAIDs aside from aspirin increase the risk of myocardial infarction and stroke, particularly these COX-2 inhibitors. So not recommended in those who had a previous heart attack, and they increase the risk of death or recurrent myocardial infarction. And NSAIDs aside from aspirin are associated with a double risk of heart failure in patient with a history of cardiac disease, because the fluid overload, sodium retention, these things will go on, and that vasodilation effect is also not there. So there are effects in the gastrointestinal, as we have discussed only. There are effects of the renal, Dr. Tarafdar will say, so I'm not going details into it. And there are also in the irritable bowel syndrome, so they should not be used very randomly, so with cautiously. Erectile dysfunction, that same applies to the vasodilatation, is not there due to these COX inhibitors. And this photosensitivity also occurred due to piroxicam and diclofenac in particular. During pregnancy also it has been seen that the premature closure of fetal ductus arteriosus due to vasoconstriction, that constriction occurs in the late trimester, so it is not good for the fetus also. And also there is oligohydramnios, because the renal vasoconstriction in the fetus also, that amniotic fluid is not produced much. And there is tocolysis, the delayed delivery in third trimester. Increased incidence of VSD and ASD has been seen associated if used in the first trimester or in the beginning, and increased risk of miscarriage in the last trimester. So there are other effects also. These challenges are still there because there is randomly these NSAIDs are in use. So liver enzyme is raised, high level of potassium, and ibuprofen has also been seen to cause irritable bowel syndrome symptoms, Stevens-Johnson syndrome, and also this angioedema, toxic epidermal necrolysis. We know a big case recently happened in Calcutta, so that was also due to some NSAID use. Then paracetamol, that acts probably like the cannabinoid receptor. So as a side effect, if we summarize that I have already told that there are good prostaglandins and bad prostaglandins. So both are blocked by the non-selective, and even the selective COX-2 inhibitor is not also very good because the cardiac toxicity. Anyway, opioids, there are areas in the brain which secretes endorphins which are similar to the opioids, and that's why opioid is working there, and this opioid actually causes natural analgesia. So there are many opioid side effects now talked about, but what we can understand that in India we don't get any opioid. Most of the opioid is exported in those Western countries, and they're randomly using this. There is no regulations of use. That's why they're having that side effect, and now the world is telling that don't use opioid. No. We should use opioid because we have not used, because we cannot say that India has faced this problem. No, we might be cautious so that we will not indiscriminately use opioid like those Western countries. So that should be our resolution. So we cannot say, oh, don't use opioid. Particularly the weak opioids, there is no harm. And it has also been seen that if you use opioid in pain, it rarely causes any addiction. Because addiction only causes when the patients are having some good feelings, which we have a very good feeling like chocolate or anything, we have addiction for that. And if the people who don't have any pain, they take this opioid, in particular stronger opioid, then they will have addiction. But this opioid, the weak opioids like this tramadol or these things, for these genuinely pain patients, I don't think Indian has seen. So we don't agree with that. Now, apart from these, there are, when Melzack came in 1965 to tell us that something is happening in the spinal cord, because it is not that pain is only that insult or that energy which is transformed, that is not simple. So in the spinal cord, that energy or that signal can be amplified or can be reduced by that gate control theory, and based on his idea, this ISP told this chronic pain, and so we got that idea of the chronic pain. It is universally accepted that when the pain is there for more than 3 months, then there must be, even if there is no structural defect or any abnormality, there something going on in the nervous system, maybe in the peripheral nervous system, maybe in the central nervous system. This is an idea. This is an literature in India. I was also associated with this. The prevalence of chronic pain in India, when we have seen that Calcutta is having about 21% of the pain, people who are having pain, they are having this chronic pain. So we have seen that with age, this chronic pain is going up and female are suffering more. And also the young people are suffering with the low back pain and this headache, and the senior people are suffering from arthritis or the joint pain. So ISP has told that 1/3 of the people are suffering from the chronic pain, when the SCR is agreed about 13% based on these literatures. But in India, what we have seen that NSAIDs are being used in 95% cases, and 68% cases this is over the counter. So that is the reason why they are not being helpful. So we should not use, because in the neuropathic pain also we have seen that there are changes in the peripheral nerve, that there's upregulation of sodium channels in the peripheral nerve, there are neuroma, and also so the spontaneous firing occurs, and there are also alpha-1 adrenoreceptors receptors, they are updated, regulated in nociceptive afferents. We have seen also they are these alpha and mRNA positive neurons increase in spinal nerves, and also in the spinal cord we have seen central sensitization, the NMDA receptor activation, and that calcium enters into the postsynaptic membrane and resulting in C-FOS oncogene production, which leads to branching of the nerves and this neuropathic pain. When the allodynia and hyperalgesia, we see that even pain starts with touch. So WHO has given us this analgesic ladder, which for the cancer pain, which we can also consider for use in the chronic pain. And we have seen that the tramadol is a very weak analgesic. It acts when it goes, that it reduces substance P. And so tramadol, and then descending through the descending pathway, this serotonin, not norepinephrine mostly, this serotonin which comes to dampen that pain, it is reuptaken. So if we can prevent this reuptake by giving this tramadol, which acts on opioid receptor as also that inhibits the reuptake, similar to this SNRI or SSRI. So if we combine this paracetamol and tramadol also, then also it is not bad for this chronic pain, to control the chronic pain in India. So anyway, we have to use that co-analgesics also, because we have seen that alpha-adrenergic agonists that can be used because upregulation is there. But clonidine and these things have side effect of this postural hypotension. We have to remember the sodium channel blockers that can be used, and also calcitonin can be used, and NMDA receptor antagonists are used, but unfortunately we don't have much oral NMDA receptor this antagonist. Anticonvulsants as co-analgesics are the mainstay, like this pregabalin and gabapentin, which act on the presynaptic presynaptic calcium channel blocker. It stops calcium entry into the presynaptic membrane, so that neurokines, this substance P is not released, and it is helpful in that way. So we should use those analgesics which also act in the central nervous system centrally, along with these membrane stabilizers like gabapentin, and antidepressants also we can use, like this nortriptyline or amitriptyline low dose, and also that SNRI. So to sum up, we can treat the chronic pain not with NSAIDs. We should not treat. We can treat the chronic pain till we are getting a good analgesic molecule. We can use safely, rather relatively safely, with these weak opioids, with paracetamols which act also centrally, and along with we judiciously will use the adjuvants like these membrane stabilizers and these antidepressants, and also if necessary with those alpha adrenergic antagonistics. Thank you.